They told me, son, you're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
Good afternoon, night, or morning, whatever time it is for you. Why don't you take a seat, because I'd like to tell you about my BioShock Remastered experience. See, I've never played BioShock before. I remember when I was about 6 or 7, my mom's boyfriend had BioShock 1 on his Xbox 360, but I had never tried the game as a child. At the time, I was way more interested in Halo 3, only ever having a PlayStation 2 and a Nintendo 64. My whole life, people have been telling me I need to try BioShock 1, so I'm finally going to. I'm playing the remastered version of BioShock 1 today because I feel like it would have the most support for my modern computer, seeing as how the game was initially released on August 21st, 2007, when the primary operating system being used was still Windows XP, and the most common screen resolution was apparently 1024 by 768, which was in the 4:3 aspect ratio. So I figure I may have problems running the original version of the game, and I don't like instability, so I opted for the remastered version instead, which was released in 2016 with better support for modern systems like my PC. Now see, I do actually have a Windows XP gaming system, but I don't have BioShock for it, and I haven't set up my Elgato HD60X to the XP PC, but one of these days we might be able to get that going. My first impression is that BioShock seems to have a well-crafted universe. My only problem is the way that you swap your weapons around feels outdated, but it also doesn't feel janky. While the game isn't scary, it certainly is creepy and has a very dystopian, capitalistic, retrofuturism vibe from what I've seen in the first 5 minutes that I really like. Starting off, you know nothing is right just from looking at the art cover for the game, but you can tell there is something sinister to uncover here. We get to see the little sisters and their daddy. At least I'm assuming there's more than one little sister and only one daddy. It's explained that the little sisters hold the power to the giant underground metropolis, and my guess is that our goal is to kill them. But these are just my early game assumptions. Well, on my second day of playing BioShock, I spent a good 40 minutes just wondering how the hell I was supposed to get past a giant wall of ice and had to watch a few tutorials online. I'm sure y'all can tell my brain ain't oriented for puzzles in the slightest, and I wouldn't even say it was a puzzle, I was just puzzled. So y'all, I decided to just restart and re-record from the last save after getting in the right headspace. One thing I love was the introduction of the hacking system for sentries and robots. BioShock is already getting way more in depth than what I initially believed it to be, with all the magical abilities and weapons. Just from looking at a couple little things in the game like your inventory menu, it's clear that there is a lot more to uncover in this game. Plus the bits of lore scattered all around Rapture, which reveals just how the citizens of Rapture started slowly going insane and having crimes committed against them, like a surgeon who didn't like how pretty his patient was, so he kept doing surgery without the patient's consent. While trying to find the doctor for his keys to escape a section of the building, I'd realized that the note I had collected was about the doctor I was hunting down. Thankfully, we get to kill the twisted doctor who obsesses over altering people's appearances and stop him from defiling corpses' victims. Shortly after we kill the evil doctor, we get to save or kill one of the little girls, and my thought was, what if someone had taken my little sister? Would I save her? The answer was obviously yes, but this is a video game, so my question is, what are the trade-offs of killing or quote-unquote harvesting the sisters, I was wondering. And after some googling, if you harvest a sister, you get 160 Atom, and on the other hand, if you play Captain Save-A-Ho, you only get 80 Atom. I almost get a vibe of Vault Tech, except way more evil from Rapture. I also keep seeing those weird 1920s anonymous orgy masks all over the place, and it makes me wonder, what do these billionaires really need an underground city for? Let me see those hard drives, sir. Shortly after beginning the next PlayStation, I started exploring and see a little sister on my screen and a message that pops up and says, "There is another little sister ahead. To get the Atom from her, you must deal with her Big Daddy first." And to me, that sounds like a challenge, so challenge accepted. For the next hour and a half, I think I managed to kill 5 Big Daddies and save 5 little sisters while running around and taking photos of enemies to get extra little bonuses against them, which makes no sense to me, but I think it's pretty cool. At this point, I'm starting to wonder how many Big Daddies and little sisters there are, because I've killed quite a few of them. All I know is that I have to help this dude named Atlas save his family, and he will help me with whatever it is I want, or so he says. But he hasn't given me any reason not to trust him so far. I mean, it's not like I have any way to escape if I don't listen to this guy, and I don't even know if I'm trying to escape Rapture. I'm just guessing that's my overall goal for the game. Also, to answer my question from earlier, after a little bit of googling, there's 21 little sisters in the game that you can save total, so I'll try to save them all, but no promises. One thing I've noticed about playing BioShock is that we're kind of like the drunk kings of the underground Wild West with how much we've been drinking. I mean, I'm not doing it intentionally, but every time I see something I can't help but pick it up, and there seems to be liquor scattered around literally everywhere. During the entire section of the rolling hills, I was unable to find a decent way of collecting health stims to heal myself, but it also felt like there was a respawn point around every corner to compensate for this lack of loot. By this point, I'm starting to feel more challenged now that I can't use a stim every 2 seconds. One thing that I thought was an issue with playing is that I killed a Rosie and couldn't find the little sister to save her soul. I didn't think that the Big Daddies and Rosies were different types of enemies other than the name until I couldn't find the little sister. After a quick Google search, Google says that Big Daddies don't always have a little sister following them around, but if you follow a Big Daddy around for long enough, he will eventually go knocking on a wall and a little sister will crawl out. Initially, I thought it was only Big Daddies, but after paying a bit more attention, we have a few different variations of Big Daddies like the Bouncers, the Rosies, the Rumblers, the Lancers, and the Alpha series, which I didn't expect from BioShock, but I'm very impressed with some of the details and features BioShock has to offer. I thought the rolling hills and the farmer's market were pretty tough, but going into Fort Frolic I was not prepared. At least there was health stations around every corner here, and I ended up just getting mad and reducing the difficulty to easy. And before you start hating, what's the point of playing if you're not having fun? One thing I certainly didn't expect was the main antagonist in Fort Frolic to let us go without a fight. I almost want to call Sander Cohen a protagonist because after killing the performers and capturing all the photos he wanted, it looked like there was an option to fight Sander Cohen, but it felt like it would have been wrong since this is the first person down in Rapture that hasn't tried to screw us over, other than the guy on the radio we've been talking to this whole time, Atlas, but I have a gut feeling that Atlas has more sinister plans. It's been a solid month or 2 since I've played BioShock, and now that I'm editing, I would like to mention that Fort Frolic was personally my most memorable part of the game. I knew it. I knew that Atlas had an ulterior motive. While there were two whole people in Rapture who didn't try to kill us, they were both obviously insane, and the major lack of sanity in Rapture was one of my indicators that Atlas didn't have it all together. I'm surprised I haven't struggled more with BioShock, although when I was assembling the bomb I couldn't find the button on the side of the desk in Keeper's office. Thankfully I could just press H and it gave me all the help I needed instead of having to Google, which was an amazing feature. I feel more single player games need to have some sort of hint system that's actually useful. I mean, back in the day, PlayStation had a hotline where you could call Sony and pay someone to walk you through a level on a game. It can easily be argued that we have platforms like YouTube and Reddit now with all the help that you'll ever need, though. When we find Cure 192, things become a little fucky with the plasmids, seeing as how we rely on them so much in BioShock, but it was kind of enjoyable in a sense of reminding me of Gun Game from Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and I didn't even realize you have a plasmid in game that will allow you to freeze enemies until we got the first dose of Cure 192. Although I'm glad we were able to get a second dose of the cure because it ended up being a bit of a pain having randomized plasmids. I did end up saving all 21 of the little sisters without really trying. I'm glad I didn't miss any of them, but the Big Daddies and Rosies got way easier as the game went on and I developed my tactics more. I found myself Googling a handful of things and how to do them, but for a game released in 2007, I think the puzzles and challenges were unique. I felt that BioShock 1 gave me the right amount of indication, and the only time I had to Google was when I didn't pay attention, but I have the attention span of a walnut, so the fact that I only had to use Google a handful of times is a good thing. I think getting to Atlas was a little confusing, and getting to Ryan was even more confusing, but to be honest I was confused this entire game. It took me a month and a half to complete the 11-hour story of this game instead of just playing it in a single week, which is probably why I was so confused the entire game and not entirely on the developers. I will say, I enjoy the retro-futuristic and steampunky feel BioShock has. Another thing I will say is that once you have the little sister following you in the end game, you're constantly talking about kissing angels, which is super sus. Whoever wrote this game, we're gonna have to check your hard drive. Overall, my rating of BioShock would be a generous 7 out of 10. I don't have any sort of scale or metric when it comes to rating and reviews, but I would recommend it to a friend for a good single player experience, especially somebody who's played a lot of FPS games. I wouldn't say my experience was phenomenal, but I had fun for most of the game and never found myself feeling burdened while feeling challenged.
I had you built! I sent you topside! I called you back, showed you what you was capable of! Even that life you thought you had, that was something I dreamed up and had tattooed inside your head! Now if you don't call that family, I don't know what is! And now...
They offered you this city. And you refused it. And what did you do instead? What I've come to expect of you. You saved them. You gave them the one thing that was stolen from them. A chance. A chance to learn. To find love. To live. And in the end, what was your reward? You never said. But I think I know. A family.